Hey there, it's Dr. Guerrero. I am going to provide you with a review for the Week 6 quiz. The Week 6 quiz is going to be covering questions about the nervous system. Right here, good deal. So I'm going to type it into this Word document and provide you a little bit of guidance, and then leave you on your way. So nervous system, of course, since this is anatomy, we're going to focus on the anatomy. And so some anatomical terms you need to be familiar with for the nervous system. Furrow, I don't want it to be folded. Furrow is your iris. Also, while I'm here, this might also be called sulcus. Okay. You need to be familiar with preganglionic. I'm going to spell that wrong. Oh, and postganglionic neurons. And you know what? If you look at the notes I provided, there is a good explanation. I'm going to pull it up real quick and put this diagram in there. I'm getting this from the notes titled Autonomic Nervous System. That's where I'm getting this diagram from. But let me want all of it. Well, that's not going to paste neatly. I know what else I can do. Stand by. I just want to make sure that you have a good diagram to pull from. And here we go. Right here, it talks about the autonomic nervous system, and it divides it into the somatic, which is voluntary, and then the parasympathetic and sympathetic. So somatic is not considered autonomic, just so that we're both clear. But the autonomic is divided into parasympathetic, which is slowing down, and sympathetic, which is speeding up. And the preganglionic neurons are here, postganglionic here. You can see the neurotransmitter associated with it. You can also see the length. Like here, I have short preganglionic and long postganglionic, versus here I have long preganglionic, short postganglionic, and so on. And it talks about the impact of those neurotransmitters. So this is definitely a good reference for this quiz. There's quite a few questions on that. Be familiar with the neurotransmitters associated with each. Okay, so that would include like acetylcholine, epinephrine, norepinephrine. Also be familiar with serotonin, dopamine. All right. Let's see. Knowing how the preganglionic and postganglionic neurons integrate into the spinal cord. And what I mean by that is the lateral, whether it's the lateral horns, dorsal, ventral, etc. Okay, and remember that sensory information travels in one direction, motor information travels in a direction. We kind of talked about this on a previous week, so being familiar with that. You do need to be able to distinguish between, let me come back up here. autonomic nervous system, you need to be able to distinguish between parasympathetic and sympathetic divisions. Okay, I'm going to come back up just to kind of keep things together. Sulcus could also be called sulci. Those are anatomical terms. I'm just trying to help you stay organized. You also need to be familiar with what the term ganglia means. Okay. You need to know the divisions of the brain and the developmental aspects. So I do have another diagram that I think may be beneficial. Divisions of the brain, developmental. I'm getting this diagram from the central nervous system notes. From the central nervous system notes. And let's see. Oh. Actually provide you quite a bit of information that is on this quiz. So I'm going to point it out for you. Excuse me. Developmentally, you don't start off with the brain in utero. You start off with what we call a neural tube. So you can kind of see that. As that child begins to age in utero, so still going inside their mother, there's no, initially there's no formal brain. This goes through the developmental processes. The very top will become the proencephalon, which eventually will be the front of our brain, the beefy cerebellum or cerebrum part of our brain. But it goes through these developmental stages where the proencephalon further develops into the telencephalon and diencephalon. And then as you become an adult, actually at birth, it's already divided into these two, the cerebrum and the diencephalon, and it gives you the subparts or sub components of them. And then it gives you the ventricles associated. There are quite a few questions on your quiz regarding this diagram. Okay, and this developmental pattern, not only for the developmental aspect, but also for the adult structures, for the ventricles as well. So that would be a good reference tool for study. Let's see. You need to know, let me get back to, you need to know the components of the brain stem. What makes up the brain stem. Let's see. You need to be familiar with the corpora quadragemina. Maybe getting too much information, but I'm going to come back to that. All right, let's go back up to the anatomy portions of the brain to keep all our terms together. Cranial fossa. On sulcus, knowing the lateral sulcus and central sulci. Longitudinal fissure. The corpus callosum. Oh, I'm pretty sure I spelled that wrong. No, I did. Good. You need to know the layers of the meninges. I'm going to spell that wrong. I always do. You need to know the order and what each letter or layer, is composed of and what its responsibility is. It's a development question. Brainstem. Okay, back to our anatomy terms. Arbor vitae, infundibulum, optic chiasma, back on fissure, longitudinal, lateral, central. Still anatomy. I'm just trying to keep all these terms together. False cerebrae, false cerebelli. Already said that term. Already done that. Done that. There's a ventricle question. I already mentioned that. Okay, and now there are a few questions on special senses. So I'm gonna. Senses were in a separate lecture. You need to know the vestibule. Sorry, you can hear that train. You already know that. I am working from my truck. Tympanic membrane, the cochlea. And just so you know, those are all associated with the ear. Go up here. Still associated with the ear. The pharyngeo tympanic tube. I did it twice, sorry. Tympanic tube. Pinna. External. Acoustic. Is that wrong? Yes. Let's see. What else do we have here? So this is special senses. It's not specifically tied to a special sense, but what you need to be familiar with is the cerebral lobe and the sense that it's associated with. So the prefrontal lobe and what senses, or what sense is it associated with? Temporal lobe. And what sense? Parietal. And there is a breakup of this in the notes. Parietal lobe, what sense? And I already said that. Okay. Let's see. So, you need to be familiar with the anatomy of the eye. Anatomy of the eye. And I think that may be it. Already said that. I'm going to add one more term to ear. Oh, I have a nerve question too. Let me add a term to ear, the semicircular canals. And then you need to be familiar with these nerves and their sensory responsibility. The following nerves and their sensory responsibility. The facial nerve, the glossopharyngeal nerve, trigeminal nerve, vagus nerve. That should be it. All right. So that's guidance for week 6 quiz. I'm going to scroll through it one more time just so you can kind of see it. And if you need to screenshot it, you can. I will not be emailing this out to you. Okay, my goal is just to provide you with some type of guidance, and then that way it kind of narrows down what you're studying. But I'm only doing this because I need to teach many of you how to study. Okay, so how to bring key terms throughout your studies, your lectures. So again, here's for the week 6 quiz review, just covering the nervous system. All right. Here is the diagram showing preganglionic, postganglionic, the divisions of the nervous system, somatic and autonomic, and the subdivisions of the autonomic nervous system. It's also giving you the neurotransmitters associated with them, and then the impact of those neurotransmitters. Again, you can find this in the notes titled the autonomic nervous system. Here is the development of the brain from embryonic to adult, associated also with the ventricles. So I found this in the central nervous system notes. In the central nervous system notes, this diagram. And here's the end. All right. So good luck. Let me know if you have any questions. You can on a virtual hour, or you can email me. And that's it. There's no reference to that. Okay, good deal.